So the sort of the final really bit to talk about on a Pedersen, that's again as pretty much as iconic as most of the rest of the bike, is its gearbox. So when I first really got interested in Pedersen bicycles, it was the one bit that I never really got involved in and never sort of touched, but it was enough to draw me in, and that piece in itself then sort of migrated through into the rest of the bicycle. So you picture the sort of position, you turn of the last century, and gearing became the sort of the crucial part, the most important part of making a cycle work properly. And we all know today, if you've got a bike with only one gear, you know, the gear, which is the front and the rear sprockets, you're very limited on how fast you can go or how many hills you can go up. So putting a gear mechanism into a bicycle was very important. And at this stage, various people had their own idea of what was the right device or not. I guess ultimately probably the Derailleur or Sturmey Archer were the two that won through and were probably the best solution to it. Pedersen was very keen to reduce the friction as much as possible within the gearbox, so he ensured that all of the details within all the shafts and stuff within the gearbox had ball bearings to ensure that there was as little friction as possible. And he made himself this extraordinary little gearbox. So there's a lid here that is an inspection lid and an oiling lid, so you can lift this up, and that then exposes the inside of the gearbox. And it is a gearbox as anybody would expect a gearbox to be. You know, you've got 3 gears in there, you've got lay shaft, you've got your input shaft, you've got exactly what you would expect on a gear. And it is truly a thing of beauty. I bought a bicycle, a Pedersen, because I wanted to take one of those things to pieces. That was pretty much the reason I've got my first Pedersen, because I was so keen to know what was inside it. So it meant making a few special tools so that you can undo some of the sort of the weird lock rings and stuff. And then I got into it and pulled it to pieces. And then as I pulled it to pieces, it became self-evident the thing was just a piece of absolute, you know, mechanical genius. I understand he had to make some of the tooling just to be able to make some of the gears. I'll lay some of the photographs that I've took of the old gearbox into this video, so you'll be able to see the sort of what they're like inside. But you know, have to bear in mind that these things are sort of like 20, 30, 40 millimeters in diameter. They're very, very small, but it works. And it's all then changed with this little mechanism up here, which now allows you to go between the gears. And I don't know how many of you have seen this on the bicycles, but you've got this lovely little gear. Can you see that moving in and out there, Anna? And this, I might be a bit dark on that side. If you come right in close and just see how that little chain, can you see that moving?
Yeah.
And that chain there and the adjustment just up above it is what you use to change gear. So it is, I think it's quite a beautiful thing. Each gear they made was numbered. Obviously it was all nickeled. This bicycle is quite interesting because it had these burgundy red spokes and then a red burgundy line on the inside of what would have been a nickeled rim. This is a slightly later gearbox, so the flanges are different on that side to this side, but the spoke length is uniform, so that it's fairly easy for a wheel builder to build the spokes, to build the wheel. But on the early gears, this flange didn't exist, and it followed the shape of the gearbox. And I'm told it took, I think it was 14 different spoke lengths to put together a rear wheel on a Pedersen bicycle. And obviously it's so time consuming, they then went to this flange design. But a remarkable thing. Works very well. It looks peculiar because obviously when it's turning, you've got this movement going around the outside as the wheel turns. But really funky little thing. And you know, it came from this man who couldn't stop inventing extraordinary things, and that was one of them. So yeah, the Pedersen gearbox. So I've covered most of the areas of the Pedersen, and I can't, you know, we will talk about a lot of different things in these little videos. It won't all be bicycle. It'll be things that excite me ultimately, because that's kind of, I figured if I like it, there might be somebody else. But truly, if you are a collector and you appreciate beautifully made things, try and find yourself a Pedersen, because they are just such a joy to look at and to sort of fiddle with and play with. Okay guys, thank you very much. We'll come back with another video. As yet I don't know what it's going to be, but we have now done Pedersen.